Replacing this wire with this fusible link wire to avoid any future engine problems.
In the media, we're rather used to recalls, and we look for the first ones on every new vehicle that comes out, and of course we were looking for it with Saturn. I think, though, that Saturn handled it so well in terms of getting the cars in, giving people new cars, that was one of the early signals that these people are serious about satisfying the customers.
And I called them up and they said, bring it right in, we'll take care of it right away. Couldn't have been easier.
In my opinion, they've bent over backwards to accommodate us.
Has this recall shaken your confidence in the car?
Not a bit. I love my car.
We didn't especially try to pin blame. We tried to, and successfully did, fix the problems. And we treated the customers better during our recalls than most customers are treated when they buy a car.
Oh, the homecoming.
They came from Alaska and North Dakota, California, and even farther west. This summer, we invited everyone who owns a Saturn to visit us in Tennessee, the place their car was born. We called it the Saturn Homecoming. People could see where their cars had been built and spend some time with the men and women who built them. They could see where the idea for a new kind of car company had taken shape, and we could thank them for believing we could do it. 44,000 people gave up their usual summer vacations to spend them with us at a car plant. Pretty good turnout for our first big party. Of course, not everything went exactly the way we'd planned, but we were all in it together, the way we always have been.
Why not invite them all to come down to the factory, not just to come to Spring Hill and drive around in their Saturns, but come to the factory and meet the people that built their car.
Touch and feel the product, not only the product, but see the people who built the product.
9 out of 10 people got off that bus. Where's the line to go to the tour? I said, well, the line is over there. You go to the left, but there's about a 2-hour wait. Now, if you want to go get some food first and then come back, no, we'll go wait in line. We want to get in the plant. We want to see the people who built Saturn. Remarkable.
Those 44,000 people that came down here spent 4 hours or more in 90-degree weather standing in line just to get in the plant to meet the people that built their car.
I mean, the world should see that to understand truly what the guts of Saturn's all about. It's remarkable.
You know, I think Saturn started out with a vision. And it was fairly simple. And we really wanted to come up with something that would be extraordinary. We got a bunch of engineers and mechanics and skilled trades guys that are just, they wanted to do something different. They wanted to make something right.
When you think about 1985, 86, 84 time frame, I mean, this country was going through considerable struggles. It was kind of like, are we really a significant country, or aren't we anymore? And are we going to be able to raise our kids, and our kids are going to have the kind of life that we've had? And all these questions that we kept asking ourselves. And so in many respects, I think Saturn was a victory for this country. And people recognize that. People feel that, whether they bought a Saturn or whether they didn't.
We did look at every aspect of our organization and said, will this make Saturn successful? And the reason we could do that is because we had a mission, which is very clear, philosophy, which is very clear, and 5 values, which are really very simple. Okay? Mission is what to do, philosophy is how you're going to do it, but values are understanding why it needs to be done so that I, as an individual, can choose to want to do it.
This is just still the beginning. There's a lot left to do. And that's one of my concerns right now, is that people would think, well, tell us about the history of Saturn, like it was over. The fact is that this is a very short time frame in its history of a 100-year car company. We've only got 10 years or so under our belt at this point, so we got a long way to go.
unites them like a family. Some people have even called them rebels. They're Saturn owners.
Hey guys, this must be the place, huh?
Ladies, hurry up! The factory guy's gonna talk. Shake a leg.
I don't know. I guess if you don't own one, you probably wouldn't understand.
When my last car left me, I found a new place to dwell. It was at the Saturn dealership where they treat you well, oh baby. They treat you well, oh baby. They treat you well, oh baby. They treat you well, and that's no lie.
What is Saturn? You would probably, that's one of those questions where it probably depends who you talk to. For me, Saturn is an idea.
Saturn is a philosophy. Saturn is a belief. Saturn is a way of doing business. Saturn is a way of treating people. Saturn is a team approach. Saturn is a partnership.
Saturn is about treating people the way they want to be treated. Not necessarily all the same, just the way they want to be treated, with respect, as intelligent buyers, and treating the team members that work for us in our stores that way, treating the people on the line in Spring Hill, treating them that way. I think it is a whole way of doing business, internally and externally.
It's not the vehicle that really excites the person. Saturn car is a good car, but there's a lot of good cars out there with good quality. It's not the car that really gets the people pumped up and get the adrenaline going. It's really the processes that we have in place in our facility that increase the excitement and the enthusiasm and the honesty and the integrity that all goes along with buying a product. And I think that's what's so different and unique about Saturn.
In my opinion, the relationship that exists between most manufacturers and dealers is really about power and control. There's a wrestling for power and a wrestling for control all the time. I think the fundamental relationship at Saturn is about truth and trust. And that characterizes the relationship between the retailer and Saturn and between the retailer and the customer.
I have customers that came to me a year ago and met us, went out other places, and came back a year later and bought a car from me, just because they never forgot the way they were treated here.
I think it's just people are fed up with the experience that they have had purchasing automobiles through the years. I think they buy Saturns many times because of the experience more so, or equally so, than the product. Now that says a lot.
Actually, my previous car was like dying, and this is known as, I call it Car Road.
I read Consumer Reports and get a couple car magazines, and I had a day off in the middle of the week, so I thought I'm going to go out and see what the big deal is about this Saturn, because I was really into my foreign cars, and I knew a lot about them and stuff. So
it caught my eye, just reached out and grabbed me. I said, "Oh, that's a nice car."
All of them. I looked at Pontiac, Ford, Mazda, Dodge. What else I wanted to up here? Except Jaguar. Couldn't afford one of those.
I just circled the things I wanted. He figured out how much it would be, and it was very affordable. Okay, so I thought, man, this is pretty nice.
It's no hassle. You don't have to stand there and say, well, I can't afford this car. Can't you bring the price up? You don't have to go through all that.
That was what I liked about Saturn. Is when I came in the parking lot, it was like they came out, "Can I help you?" And it was just like, "Well, no, I'm looking." And they say, "Well, if you have questions, I'll be over there." And it was like, "Thanks."
And I kind of was like pretty much impressed.
You don't have to worry about that pushy, well, I can put you in that car today kind of thing, And please, just let me look.
You're not joined at the hip with the salesman when you come into the lot.
I ended up buying it, and I love it.
So it just kind of works. You come, you visit, you become part of the family. It's that simple.
There's clearly an understanding that you go to a Saturn dealership and you will be treated extremely well. I have a brother personally who's a mechanic, and he tells everybody, go buy a Saturn, go buy a Saturn. You'll be sure to be treated well.
What matters right now is that the real difference in the auto industry, whether this was planned by Saturn or not, it takes place on the retail side. And you're seeing covers of magazines like Business Week where they're talking about the end of the traditional car dealer. You know, the guy in the full Cleveland is the expression that some people use. You know, the guy in the loud sports coat with the tie that doesn't quite match and the pinky rings and everything else. Yeah, those guys, their days are numbered. What people want right now is a sales experience that doesn't make them the victim, but if you will allow me, almost makes them the partner in the process. And a company that doesn't deliver that is going to have a lot of trouble, if nothing else, to keep its buyers loyal.
It was like some kind of bad dream. By the time Dad was finished, I was scared to death of buying a car. I've done this a half a dozen times, he goes. I know how these people operate. It would be obvious this was my first time, but it had to be done. The SS Rosie was sinking fast. So while everyone else was spending money, I made some. And when Dad announced he was coming along, I didn't stop him, as if I could have. After a few of those places, I was beginning to think Dad really knew what he was talking about. Scary, huh? Then I had this idea. Going in, Dad says, now don't act too interested. But when I drove the Saturn, that was it. He was supposed to do the talking. But there were no hassles, even over the price. So I bought one. Dad goes, well, it's a good thing you had me along. The thing about Dad is, he likes to feel useful, and that's cool.
Obviously, Saturn is something other than just a car. There's a mystique about it. Of course, it's a plant, it's a car, it's something physical that you can put your hands on. But I think we miss what Saturn is if we just think in terms of, well, what we have here is a durable car that'll last 100,000 or 150,000 miles with very little trouble. It is those things, but it's more than just that.
One of the things is I go around from place to place, and I use Saturn as an example a lot in what I do, but every time I use Saturn as an example, someone will come out of the audience and give me another wrinkle. So, for example, I was having we wrote a book called Leading with Soul, and I was having a little tough time with a reporter on, what does this stuff mean? And I mentioned Saturn. He said, oh, now I get it. Because there's a company with a soul.
You know, I challenge companies to ask their employees, do you know what this company stands for, and do you care? And I always make the claim that at Saturn, you get a successful test. Saturn stands for a world-class car, treating customers with respect and as a friend. And I think most people connected with Saturn will believe that, and I think they know that. And I think that's really a fundamental core reason why Saturn has been successful.
The primary difference between what I would say the best operated dealership that I own, that's the only place I think I can make a comparison, versus a Saturn store, is the market area approach allows us to totally focus outwardly upon conquesting customers and bringing them to the Saturn family, and then retaining them for our store inside the Saturn family once they become part of us. As opposed to at my Chevrolet store, frankly, enormous amount of energy is focused on the competition being other Chevrolet dealers. So the energy inside the store is not the same. Inside of a Saturn store, we can be singular in our focus, and directing it to providing this level of extraordinary service to customers, and then retaining them all the way through the system, so the entire store can be focused.
This thing has caught on. Boy, I love the Saturn approach. You have people come in. If I recommend, somebody calls me and says, hey, Van, I think I want to look at a Saturn. I don't have to handpick somebody down here to make sure you talk to Bob or make sure you talk to Bill. Doesn't make any difference. And I think the people that are seeking this product out appreciate the way that the car is presented to them. They appreciate the Saturn process, the sales consultative process. Those are really important things to folks.
It's told me something that America will respond to positive treatment, and that it isn't just a price deal. I was convinced for many, many years that America was price driven. I made a lot of money doing that. Very successful the wrong way. I'm convinced today that let's just say that the Saturn customer has renewed my confidence in people.
I'm proud to tell people what I do for a living. I say, you know, I represent Saturn. That's what I do for a living with people. I'm not in the car business. I'm not a retailer. I'm not a car dealer or anything. I always say I represent Saturn. And boy, I'll tell you, that can bring on some incredible conversations.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm on the road and I see another Saturn, like, that must be a nice person or something like that.
We picked up our car, drove immediately out to our insurance agents, paid for our insurance, and started to come home. And they're doing some construction on one of the local railroads.
And this is probably silly, but Saturn cars are cleaner. People take good care of their Saturns.
And I hear a train coming, and it's blowing its horn, and there's cars in front of me and cars in back of me, and I can't move.
A guy in my neighborhood last week was jogging by, and he goes, "Man, that's a shiny car you got there." And then when he got done, he walks back to his house, and he stopped over and was talking about the car and stuff.
Before we could move, this incredible sound came down on top of us. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom.
What is that?
It was the crossing arm.
Well, they said that it's only automatic transmission that you could tow behind the van, and I checked with a lot of mechanics right here in Greensboro, and they said they'd never heard of it.
So we came home, and I called Saturn, and they said, no problem, bring it in 9 o'clock Monday morning.
Anybody likes to think that he's King B, and you're King B at Saturn.
Monday morning I got up, and we live on a cul-de-sac, and I pulled out to the main road, and I thought, gee, they're washing the streets. And I got down on the road a little further, and I thought, I do not smell water, I smell tar. By the time I got to Saturn, my car was covered in tar.
We were a true Christ, can I say that? We were a true Chrysler family before. And sorry Chrysler, no more.
We brought it here, and 2.5 hours later, it looked brand new.
When you drive, it just sort of hugs your derriere, and you can drive and just feel great.
Saturn took care of us, because they're the greatest.
You bet.
I just think it's really cool to see another Saturn owner on the road, because we have something in common, and it's very good.
They won't believe this, that we purchased our car on Friday the 13th.
I say, thank you!
I thought the days of women being treated differently than men were long gone.
Hey, how you doing? What was your name again? Karen, right?
Aaron.
Ariel, let me show you. Aaron, I'm sorry.
Then I tried to buy a car.
Something
reliable.
Want to buy a car, huh?
Sporty.
What a great day to buy a car.
With lots of standard features.
This is the vanity mirror, so you can check your makeup.
I'm loving it.
Tell me about the mileage.
It has no miles on it yet.
Okay, what about safety features?
You feel safe.
Yeah.
It's safe.
How much you looking to spend?
I want to spend about $12,000.
Rich. Yeah, Rich can help you out. I'll be back to you soon, though.